Hey there, it's Josie and you're listening to the Yoga at Local podcast. Again, welcome wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever time of day it is. Thanks for checking this podcast out. We've been having a conversation around Dharma this month and we're continuing that conversation this week as a way of trying to reconnect to the purpose of yoga, real yoga, how it was meant to be taught as a tool for our own self-excellence, our own growth and nothing less. And why are we doing it if we're not doing that? Okay, so, all the tools of yoga, we talked about asana and meditation last week, are moving us towards this state of union, this state where we are in harmony with ourselves, in harmony with who we are, and living life to its potential, its possibility. Now, this week we're going to dive into something a little bit more technical. I think most people kind of have come across asana and posture work and meditation as ways to practice. But we're getting a little bit more technical this week. And also it gets a little bit, if I'm being totally honest, a little bit weirder. You have to expand your level of awareness, your level of perception, and go into a more subtle conversation. But if you're serious about going into, these deeper truths of who you are, understanding yourself on an energetic level, tapping into higher states of consciousness and wisdom, right? Really seriously, we should kind of expect there to be something in there that we don't quite get yet, but we will if we're taught it in the way that it's meant to be taught, if we follow the process and if we start building that understanding and that knowledge. And not just from someone who's telling you, but by doing it. You have to practice. You have to actually do the work yourself. Sorry, again, I'm always the bearer of bad news. But yeah, there is a requirement that you have to do this work. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is the cultivation of energy through bandhas, okay, and the power of the bandhas. If you've been doing yoga for a while, you may have even heard of the term bandha, but it's often tossed around without, again, any real sense of, well, why are we using bandhas? What's the purpose? What's the higher goal here? Arguably, we don't really understand their true power. They can come off as something a little bit esoterical and not for us. And again, that's going to move us backwards on our path and not forwards. So if you stick with me, if you stick with practices that are taught in the way that they are meant to be taught, they will lead you into the potential for not just me telling you these are powerful, but you understanding their power, okay? So bandhas might be a game changer that you're looking for. So what is a bandha? What does the word mean? It's another of those lovely Sanskrit words. Essentially, it means lock. And if you've been following our other podcasts, you'll know that, part of practice is to create shapes, find breath techniques that influence our energy, right? We're influencing our energy, and then the locks are containment walls, basically, for this energy flow. Also can be translated as bind, but basically it's a seal. They're different actions, and more of that is described in the written version of this podcast. So please feel free to explore them, but again, don't just read about them. These are things that you're going to need to start to think about, including in class. And if you come to any of our classes, it is part of the deal. You will be guided into them and encouraged to explore them at your own pace. Okay, so when engaged, basically these locks redirect, cultivate, build energy. There are three primary bandhas: the Mula Bandha, which is at the base of the spine, it's called the root lock. And then we have Uddiyana Bandha, which is the navel center lock. And then the throat lock, Jalandhara Bandha. And basically it's about containing the energy through the spine. And if you'll have heard me talking before, we understand the root of the energy. We don't bring the energy into the spine. For a very specific purpose. There's always purpose. We're not doing this for fun. It's the purpose of why we're practicing, why we're building in these different tools and techniques to bring the energy into the spine and then activate our Kundalini Shakti, don't get trippy over the words. It's just really means our dormant potential, the part of us that's, we're not tapping into, and we activate that. It becomes Prana Shakti. It becomes energy that we can utilize, and we utilize it for our growth into higher consciousness and connection. So again, incredibly powerful tools. If you think about the bandhas as this fastest way to change the momentum, change the direction of our energy. Energy is moving in all directions at all times, and we're part of this energy soup, that is the universe. And as we move, as we think, as we move the energy in different ways in the body, then the energy can get scattered, depleted, we can get it stuck, and we can even end up feeling completely depleted. And you only have to look at modern life. Our energy is being leaked out in all directions on useless thinking, useless tasks, useless entertainment, on things, information that we don't need or is misinformed, right? And it's no wonder we have no ground to sit in, and that's what we're aiming to find, that seat in ourselves, something to ground in and be true to. And when we use the bandhas, we're taking control of that energy, right? It's less fragmented, less dispersed, it's more focused and targeted. And when we focus our energy in specific locations, it activates the mind, it makes the mind more calm and stable and more potent and more directed. And actually our minds, when it's not all distracted all over the place and into our Instagram feeds, then it's a pretty powerful tool, right? We are amazing human beings with amazing technology. We're just wasting it on all these kind of futile external entertainments, right? Anyway, but yeah, with the bandhas, we're harnessing that power, harnessing the power of the mind, harnessing our energy, bringing our focus to tension. And it's a little like building a dam, right? If you think of the power behind the dam, and when you engage the locks and you're bringing those energies in, there's a huge amount of force, of concentrated energy. And when we start to direct that energy with purpose, then we are empowered, right? And we can move that energy into anything that we want, realistically. And in terms of the purpose of practice, we're looking to send it into the spine, okay? So the spine is the highway to the soul. And you can't go digging in for this this Sushumna channel. It's a subtle location, roughly located along the length of the spine. But it's why, our later practices in fire, the asana practice there, and then in the meditation, we're encouraged to extend and lengthen the spine. So it all should be starting to kind of ring bells and make sense a little bit more why you're doing all these postures. And then you can really get behind it. You can empower your practice, and it becomes less kind of like fluffy and esoterical and pointless, and more, wow, I'm literally growing and becoming more stable and capable, more powerful. So yeah, I mentioned the Kundalini activation, and again, it's easy to get a bit kind of distracted by the Sanskrit, and I think we've been made to fear things that we don't necessarily understand. So literally, it's just think of it as like you are a powerful human being. You just haven't learned to tap into that power, and it's dormant within you. And all these practices, the breathing, the posture, the mudra, the bandha, is all directing and honing and refining that energy to become something that you can use, and you can use it for your own growth. And the idea is that we do these work as yogis because we want this power to be in the hands of people who are looking to do great things, to be a force for good in the world. So this, yoga is a powerful practice. In the wrong hands, it could be used for nefarious kind of activities. But if we follow the practices it was meant to be taught, and we work systematically, then it's kind of setting ourselves up for the power to be in the hands of people who want to do good things in the world. and really live their life with purpose and meaning, right? So that's amazing for me to think that I'm helping people to move towards that potential, including myself. So when awakened, this Kundalini energy becomes prana shakti, moves up the spine, and this is what gives us this capacity to connect to the higher energy centers, to receive that wisdom, to be more intuitive, to touch in onto those qualities, those innate qualities within us that may not have been nourished or activated in the past. It gives us that spiritual insight and an elevated state of consciousness. This is no small feat, right? And it takes so much practice. It takes a lot of removing of all the obstacles that get in the way, all the distraction, all the noise, all the kind of all the hang-ups that we have around doing something new or taking on new information. Seriously, you know, it is a lot, and you know, this is a life's path. It's a lifetime's path for some of us, so you know, we can't expect things just to kind of like, you know, come to a class even once a week and you know, expect mountains to move. But if you start to slowly increase your capacity to practice, to be with these teachings, to start to work with them, practice them so that they become part of who you are, you're slowly going to move more and more closer to a sense of who you are and why you're here, and then be that force for good in the world. That is going to be so amazing for everyone. So it's really time well spent. So have a look at the content piece that's attached to this podcast. They'll explain the bandhas in more detail and how we use them. They will be introduced at different junction points in your practice, and never treat anything in isolation, right? It has to be formed as part of this beautifully sequenced, the vinyasa krama, which I mentioned on the last podcast, beautifully sequenced, complete practice that's taking you from here to here and delivering a certain result, okay? So again, why should you be that bothered? Well, obviously we've talked about, you know, it's going to help you deliver you into those higher states of consciousness and towards Dharma. But also, once you start to feel the impact of bandhas in your practice, once you start to understand how you have power, how you can direct your power, where you put your energy has so much impact on what energy you get back. You know, this is not just something that's going to be something you practice here. You're going to start to find how you use that power in everyday situations, how you show up and direct your energy in ways that are more helpful, more productive, more focused, less confrontational, less reactive. Will get the best out of the situation rather than, like, you know, just repeating dramas and never getting any solutions. So it's going to start to give you that glimpse of, you know, your potential, that you're out of the ordinary, that you have way more strength and purpose and power than you ever imagined. And this starts to seep into every single thing, all your relationships, your work. Is amazing. It's truly amazing. Please start practicing the way it's meant to be taught, because you won't regret it. So yeah, if you're new to practicing bandhas, it's going to feel awkward. It's always going to be awkward doing something new, putting yourself out there. You know, we try not to take ourselves too seriously here. We take the practice seriously, we take ourselves seriously, but you know, there's always room for humor and being able to kind of like be imperfect, not like get too hung up on the outcome, don't have too many expectations, and just enjoy the ride, right? We've got this kind of map that we follow, and we don't really have to do much else but be true to it and follow the path that's laid out before us. and also honouring how we feel when we're starting to tune into our sense of self and what we need. Then we can start picking the practices that are really going to amplify our experience of life. If we need more grounding, then we can reach for practices that ground us. If we need more solarizing, if we need more capacity to be internal and energized and be sensitive to energy, we have practices for that. So there's a whole range of practices that can be offered to you, and you need a teacher that's going to provide a structure that makes sense, because it's, aside from giving everyone an individual practice, basically you're being taught for the masses, right? You're being taught for a group of people rather than individuals. So unless you start to learn why you're doing what you're doing, when you're doing it, and what the effect of that is, you're always going to be held hostage to whatever the teacher's doing, and if that's not aligned with you, you're always going to be imbalanced. So start to learn the language, start to learn the methodology, start to learn the science, and not by just being told, okay? By coming and practicing and trying on these practices, seeing how they affect you, seeing how they deliver you into different states, seeing how they empower you. It's such an exciting path to walk. So spend some time. And remember, they're powerful tools, but nothing is a magic button. So nothing will happen if you're just going through the motions. Just bring your whole heart, bring your whole intentional energy to it, and it's going to be amazing and come to life. So if you're ready to dive deeper into all of this, right, this is what we offer here at the studio. I've mentioned before that I became a little bit dissatisfied with what was currently on offer in terms of yoga practice. I knew there was more. I wanted to find out what that was, and slowly that's how I've been building my own practice, my own teaching, and now offering it to my students here. But just because I'm a bricks and mortar building here in Wellingborough in the UK does not mean you don't have access to these teachings. And we have online classes, so you can tune in from wherever you are in the world. I'd love to expand our global audience. And but also we have an app which connects you all as a community. It means that there's never any excuse. You've pretty much got the studio in your pocket. There's no excuse not to practice the practice that is right for you. So you can come and you can learn and be guided, but essentially then you can go away and you can, from the new knowledge, from your own power, you're going to become self-governing, and you're going to be able to really align your practice to suit you and your energy needs, and to move you in the direction that's going to take you to the next level. That's ultimately the promise of practice. And yeah, don't be upset. Like one day I'll be redundant. You'll be flying on your own, and that is my goal. That is my purpose. That is why I'm here. So I would love you to help get you started. So the details are all in the content below. Many ways to get in touch with us. I hope to see you soon, and if you've got questions or comments, let me know, and I will see you on the next podcast. Bye for now.